There's a man in a small town who spends every Saturday fixing strangers' cars for free. He turns away money. He turns away gift cards. He just waves, wipes his hands on a rag, and walks back into his garage. And the strangest part?
He's one of the happiest people anyone around him has ever met.
Most of us have been told our whole lives that people are fundamentally selfish, that every action, no matter how generous it looks on the surface, is secretly driven by some hidden personal gain.
So how do we explain someone like him? And more importantly, what does his happiness tell us about something we might be getting completely wrong about human nature? There's a concept in psychology called intrinsic motivation. It means doing something because the act itself is the reward. No paycheck, no applause, no social media post about it. Just the pure, unfiltered satisfaction of doing something well and watching it matter to another person. And research consistently shows that people who operate from intrinsic motivation report significantly higher levels of life satisfaction than those chasing external rewards. But here's what makes the car mechanic even more fascinating. It's not just that he enjoys fixing cars, it's that he specifically needs to fix them for someone who can't afford to pay. The helplessness of the other person is part of what activates something deep inside him. Psychologists call this a helper's high. When you do something genuinely helpful for another person, your brain releases a cocktail of dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin, the same neurological system that lights up when you eat your favorite meal or fall in love. Helping, at a biological level, feels incredible. But not all helping creates this response equally. Studies from the University of Zurich found that voluntary, unconditional helping produced far stronger brain activation than helping that came with an expectation of return. The moment a reward enters the picture, the brain shifts from the emotional reward system to the transactional one. And something beautiful gets lost in that shift. So why do some people access this state naturally while others never seem to find it? The answer starts earlier than most people expect, in childhood. Children who grow up in environments where helping was modeled as a normal, everyday act, not performed for praise, but simply done quietly, tend to internalize helping as part of their identity. It becomes who they are, not just something they do occasionally. These individuals don't experience helping as a sacrifice. They experience not helping as a kind of internal discomfort, a tension that only resolves when they step in. Psychologist Erik Erikson described a stage of adult development he called generativity. It's the deep human need to contribute something meaningful beyond yourself, to invest in the world in a way that will outlast you. People who fix cars for free are often operating from exactly this place. The car is almost secondary. What they're really doing is leaving a mark, building something invisible but real. A web of trust, gratitude, and human connection that gives their life a texture that money simply cannot manufacture. And this is where personality science becomes fascinating. Research using the Big Five personality model consistently shows that high agreeableness and high conscientiousness together create a specific type of person. Someone who not only cares deeply about others, but also takes profound personal pride in doing things properly. These aren't people who help sloppily or halfway. They fix the car completely. They check everything twice. Because their helping is an expression of their identity, and their identity demands excellence. To do it poorly would feel like a betrayal of themselves. But there's another layer here that most people completely miss: community. Humans are tribal by nature. For hundreds of thousands of years, our survival depended entirely on our reputation within our group. Being known as someone useful, someone skilled, someone who showed up when it mattered, that was the highest form of social currency that existed. And while we've built cities and economies and entire financial systems on top of that ancient wiring, the wiring itself hasn't changed. The man who fixes cars for free in his neighborhood isn't just helping individuals. He's building status, not arrogantly, not consciously, but in the oldest, most human way possible. He's becoming indispensable. He's becoming the kind of person that a community quietly organizes itself around. There's also something profound happening with mastery. Psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi spent decades studying what he called flow states. Those moments when you are so absorbed in a challenging task that time disappears and the self dissolves. His research showed that flow is most likely to occur when your skill level perfectly matches the difficulty of the task at hand. Mechanics who have spent years developing their craft exist in this state almost automatically when they work. The engine becomes a puzzle. The diagnosis becomes a mystery to solve. And solving it, especially for someone who genuinely needs it solved, amplifies the flow experience to extraordinary levels. They're not just fixing a car. They're in the purest possible version of being fully alive.
Now consider what happens to the person receiving the help. Something shifts in them too. Sociologists have documented what they call the gift economy. Unlike a transactional economy where exchanges are immediate and equal, a gift economy operates on delayed, unequal reciprocity. When someone receives a genuine gift, something with no strings attached, they don't feel free. They feel connected, bound in the most positive sense of the word. They become more likely to help others, more likely to give freely themselves. One act of unconditional generosity doesn't just help one person. It moves through a community like a current, changing the behavior of people who weren't even in the garage that day. And this is what makes the psychology of these individuals so quietly revolutionary. They're not optimizing for productivity. They're not building a personal brand. They're not networking. They're doing something that our culture has almost forgotten how to value. Living in a way that makes the world immediately and tangibly better for the specific people standing in front of them. But let's be honest for a moment. Not everyone who helps for free is entirely without complexity. Some people help because they struggle to say no. Some help because receiving help feels dangerous to them, so they make sure they're always the one giving. Some help because their sense of worth is so deeply tied to being useful that slowing down feels like disappearing. Psychology doesn't deal in pure heroes. It deals in human beings. And human beings are always a mixture of their wounds and their wisdom, their fears, and their genuine love. The healthiest helpers are the ones who know the difference in themselves. Who choose to help, not because they're afraid of what happens if they don't, but because it's the truest expression of who they actually are. That distinction matters enormously. Helping from fear eventually leads to resentment. Helping from wholeness never runs dry. The man in his garage on Saturday morning, turning down money, turning down gift cards, waving and walking back in, he doesn't look tired. He looks like someone who has figured out something most people spend their whole lives searching for. A reason to get up. A way to matter. A form of love that requires no explanation and leaves no invoice. We live in a world that is very good at measuring things. Revenue, followers, returns on investment. But there are forces shaping human life that don't appear on any spreadsheet. The feeling of being genuinely helped by someone who wanted nothing back is one of the most powerful experiences a human being can have. And the feeling of being the person who helped them, that might be even more powerful. The psychology of people who fix cars for free isn't really about cars at all. It's about what happens when a human being finds perfect alignment between their skills, their values, their need for connection, and their understanding of what a life well lived actually looks like. Most people spend decades chasing that alignment in careers, relationships, and achievements. Some people find it in a garage with grease on their hands, handing back someone's keys and asking for absolutely nothing. Maybe the question was never why they do it. Maybe the question is why the rest of us stopped.